James Kaufman, World News Report today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a proton storm and a polar cap absorption event. This was quite an impact on Earth. I wanted to start out here on GOES 19 and take a look at the coronal mass ejection. It was something to behold. I also want to point out the sun doing loops. Now, we know that this spacecraft is at 226 miles above Earth. We know that the moon is supposed to be 222,000 to 234,000 miles away, depending on where it is in its orbit. I've got some serious questions here. But we're going to go on to the proton event and the absorption event very soon. Now, they have the moon conveniently, lit up, and they're saying that this is Earth shine lighting it up, because obviously we're looking at it from the spacecraft, and it would be, the backside of it's to the sun, so it wouldn't be visible. But for some reason, when it gets near the sun up here, the Earth shine stops. That's it right there. That's the Earth shine stopping. Now, what would possibly stop the Earth shine? Could it be the spacecraft itself? Well, I would seriously doubt that. The spacecraft is very, very small, and the moon is very large, and it completely blocks out there. And this isn't a perfect circle it's doing either. When me and you see the moon lit up, they tell us it's because the beams of light from the sun wrap around Earth and light up the, sun-facing or Earth-facing side of the sun. Well, in this case, the sun is in the other direction, that way, right? But the moon's lit up until it gets up near the lens cover. First off, what would possibly be causing the moon to go in circles here when all the other planets are stationary? All the other planets are stationary, and then is this moonshine lighting it up? Because the sun's the other direction, and then when it gets near just the lens cover, why would it turn black? The spacecraft couldn't be covering it up, because, the light would go right around the spacecraft. The moon's huge compared to the small spacecraft. They've actually stopped the video there for us. That is the end of the video, with, of course, the moon disappearing behind the lens cover itself. Let's continue with more BS from NASA. All right, since the eruption itself, our GOES proton flux on that same satellite I mentioned continues to go higher and higher. Right now we've broken through the space weather warning threshold, and we're at 2 million volts of electricity. 2 million volts of electricity, or protons, electricity in the form of protons. We also see the 50 million volt line starting to budge. I'm guessing that when we wake up, it's going to perhaps go as high as the space weather threshold itself. Now, if it was just protons, that would be one thing. NASA has gone so far, they're now hiding the electron count and have hidden it for over 5 hours. They don't want you to see what's going on. This is some event. Something I guess they were expecting in some way. They must be able to, see into the future, basically. All right, I wanted you to see what they're doing with the electron count. Of course, we had no electrons over the U.S. GPS is out completely around the U.S. What they've done is, when the explosion actually popped off at 1845, this satellite here is at Lagrange point 1, which is 1 million miles above Earth, and the GPS is totally out, i.e. the satellite is out. Watch this now. So we went up to about 50 or 60. That's electrons per meter. And we've had an error since then, they said. Of course, it's off the charts here. If it won't go past that, what good is it, right? Watch me move this. I continue to move it through all this time. Let's see when it finally lights back up, or if it does. It lights back up. 1845 to 2305. 2305. So about 4.5 hours of hidden data with that electron count went up here to extremely dangerous. And that was right over the US. There must have been absolutely no GPS whatsoever flying or anything else for about 4.5 hours. You can see it's getting back to normal because we're no longer facing the sun. If we were still facing the sun, it might be up in the red range. If it were working, I think the satellite is out now. All right, so here we go. This is not good news. This is our GOES 19 solar ultraviolet imager, 195 angstroms. I use this to show you all the explosion after it happened. And this is still today. The explosion didn't happen for quite a while here. The problem is it's now been turned off. There's the explosion right there, as y'all can see. And the very start of the explosion is the last data you can get. As I move it further to the right, nothing occurs. Oh, there it finally spun. So there must be a 4.5 hour window when this satellite was out as well. So it looks like 1804 to, well, actually to the next day, 36 minutes into the next day. So that one, we've got 5.5, 6 hours of our GOES 19 satellite just out. Now I know it's built to protect itself. The sun's getting more fierce, not less fierce. Let's take a look at these sunspots. Can y'all believe that this was out for 6 hours? Look at this. I'm moving it through the explosion there. 6 hours. They have it. Heck, you can't even get through this, man. 1804 it goes out. And it comes back on the next day at 36 to 40 minutes after, 36 minutes after 0000 UTC time. So about 7:36 to 9. So 6 hours and this entire satellite was out. What's happened during those 6 hours? We have no idea. There could have been another X flare that popped off, okay? We have no idea. And based on this, I'm beginning to think that's exactly what happened. This is 1830 where that X flare popped off. You would think that we'd go into a polar absorption situation almost immediately. That's it right there. It's not that extensive. You can see the 1820, 1834. Now let's move it forward, and then something else happens here. So our deep region absorption prediction shows X-rays hitting the ground on planet Earth. That's almost gone. Then all of a sudden, something else hit here. This is at 2150. 2150. And, well, protons start pouring in. Protons start pouring in our poles here and create a polar absorption event here. But I've never seen one start 5 hours. Let's see how many hours that was. Well, at least 3 hours and 15 minutes after the flare. I'm wondering if we didn't have a second X flare. Look at the radio alternation now. I'm wondering if we had a second X-flare that was not picked up because the GOES satellite was off. Probably shut itself off on purpose. But look at this. On the ground, we're getting fried like rats. X-rays, electrons, protons. Hope y'all are enjoying the show here. Trying to think of another instrument that I could see if there was perhaps a second event. It looks to me like there was definitely a second event here. You can see we're already here at 9 o'clock or 200 UTC time, which is right about where we are right this second. Right, I'm over at the Solar Dynamic Observatory, and shit you not, this looks like a second X-flare. And if you look at the time up here, it's the 19th at 1:33. And this is probably well into the X-flare. This was only about 30 minutes ago. We see nothing on our GOES satellite because it was shut down, right? Look at this surrounding sunspot 4341. Let's look at that sunspot. Does that not look like another flare to you? This is ridiculous, folks. I think that we just got another X-flare here. Over at HMI Intensigram, the first time we saw that X-flare, sunspot Air 4341 was a beta gamma sunspot. Now it's a delta, most complex sunspot that we know of. Delta class sunspot. I have got to somehow find out if we got hit by a second flare that they're hiding. At this point, we have a total of 8 sunspots Earth facing. We have additional sunspot groups coming around that look ferocious here. And as you all know, it takes about 12 days to transit the Earth facing side. So 4341 will be in play directly Earth facing for several more days. We'll be hit by this coronal mass ejection very quickly because of, well, how strong it was. I'm looking at 20 to 25 hours perhaps, and that is a guesstimate, but probably a very good one. They say the Carrington event took 16 to 18 hours to get here, which was a much, much stronger flare. But I've seen smaller flares take 25 to 30 hours to get here. So we'll see exactly what happens real shortly. They have not forecasted a thing yet. They are on their toes, folks. Of course, right? You can see that, well, they're expecting nothing to happen tomorrow until the 20th and 21st. Biggest, well, KP index forecast I see is a 3.67, not even a disturbance. And that was, well, it was a 4.0. Nothing whatsoever, period. So they're not on their toes at all. It's a Sunday. They're at home or in a cave somewhere hiding out. It's going to be impossible for me to tell this early in the game if there's been more activity, and we might not ever know. We do know that all the satellites either shut themselves down or were shut down. And we do know that we're in a proton storm, but we're not seeing the little white specks that we always usually do. We also know that we're in a polar cap absorption event, but it didn't start till 3.5 hours after the X-rays started hitting. And the flare itself didn't look outstanding to me, although it seemed to last an extremely long period of time. So that's where we're at, folks. Right now, we're all going to go live with some news. Hopefully y'all join us. This has been one hell of a day. Hopefully everyone's making it okay. Please give us a thumbs up, share. Always remember, anything's possible. Bizarro world.